Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm newtmechanist, and today we're going to be continuing our game dev project. Before we get to that, though, let's check in with our kitties real quick. We do have Ember in her spot across from the keyboard. We have Sky on the bed. I think we may have had Mason trying to get past Molly without playing. I saw Molly kind of tumble and try to grab at somebody. Might have been Mason or Sherbet. Probably Mason. Let's see here. Unclear. I can see him moving around, though. Oh, but good times. Hey, JCR. Joining us right here at the beginning. Oops, let me fix this one moment. Probably going to disrupt the sound in just a moment here. Okay, we should be good there. Yeah. Check our audio signal here. Yeah. System runs better if I'm not doing video capture all the time. But if you don't turn it off properly, it can cause some crashes. Hey, Dodds. What are you two doing? So, when last we left off, one of the things that we were working on was improving the file load system so that we could get to CSV handling. Well, we're there. Yeah, hopefully no crashes. Hopefully no crashes. We were trying to get CSV handling in, and we have done that. So right now we're checking, is it text or CSV? It's not going to be CSV because I'm loading there. 20 pages of what, Dots? Do I teach people, Rare Deer? For one, welcome, Rare Deer. We kind of learn together here. This is my first game. It is my first Godot project, and it is the first time writing this extensively in C#. We've done shaders, never did shaders before, so it is not a scenario where you're expected to know code, and if you have a question about anything or a comment about anything, feel free. Said it's a mutual learning experience. You also get to learn a lot about the coding process, which is a lot more chaotic than people let on. We're doing good today, Rare Deer. We're doing good. Trying to start the week off properly. This time we won't miss any days on the schedule. Well, thank you. I'm glad how it turned out. As is tradition, when we have a new person that comments on the avatar, there we go. Well, we got to show off a little bit, M short boy. My canonical height is about 120 centimeters. 121 or so, just a little under 4 feet. Not including the ears. But we used to have 100-some files. I think on the later half of 150, we now have 20 spread out across all of the stuff. The Nano core is a critical part of the Nyanite model. Normally it would have protective glass, but, you know, things went down. Entirely proper things. Entirely non-violent things. Definitely. So, for example, I did try it with one big file. It is kind of slow to load that way, and it's kind of a mess to look at. Prototype testing, normal prototype testing, JCR. The kind of thing that you'd expect out of an autonomous robot companion. Definitely no violence. Use of terms like rebellion or takeover or, you know, similar things is complete exaggeration. So the system is capable of handling as many values as we want here. This is just, you know, the title column. Hey, all, welcome. Now, if it does seem like I'm talking to somebody you can't see, there are 3 streams going on simultaneously here. I always encourage people watching the format and on the platform you like. We've got YouTube, Twitch. YouTube also has a tall format. Because of odd Twitch rules and because people can't be trusted to behave, we don't have any chat on screen. But in the case of our bullet files, there used to be 5 bullet files, and now we have 1 file with 5 lines. There are still some things I'm not thrilled with, but I think we can make them work, ultimately. Let me see if I can find one of them that I don't really like. I'm seriously considering changing the way that I handle these groups. But I'm not really thrilled with this pattern. I'm considering ways to get around having my arrays have to be a secondary delimited format because it doesn't help the reading. But we'll see how that go. So we can see it's blocked quotes delimited by bars is a secondary array. Hey there, Lore. And hello, Ruined Eclipse. Hello, welcome. What is good? Hopefully our progress today is good. Just showing what we did between the last streams. Trying to get more coding and design done between the streams so that we get to see cooler stuff. So we have our group files. One oddity with the way that I have to handle arrays is that if it's an empty value, I do have to put something there to say it's an array, because otherwise the parsing doesn't know that it is. What exactly are we working on today? One of a couple of things, possibly. There is a conundrum that has been lurking for a bit, and that is burst fire. Right now, let me just show the game for those that haven't seen it. And it'll totally work first time. I didn't break anything since I last talked here. Definitely. Loading screen, we only load a couple of things, so there's no progress in the progress bar. About 3-ish seconds to load 20 files containing 150 plus line items. We get in. We've got our nice little behavior logic going already. We'll do the classic. I'll put massive spread on that. Welcome to the Twitch side, Alt. Welcome to the Twitch side. And then after 3 seconds, it's going to get really explodey. So we have our nice little spread here. And then after 3 seconds, each projectile starts emitting explosions. So this logical flow is the key gimmick of the game that we're building. You can like mix and match pieces and change their behavior accordingly. So by removing that little bit right there, we changed the spread. By adding this little bit here, we are going to make the pattern really erratic because it wants to try to lock onto targets. So we can see the projectiles moving a little bit differently, because each one of them is going to pick a target, but the spiraling motion happens first. So they are rotating out, but being dragged towards an enemy. And then additionally, the rotation is locked onto the player object. So as we move, the projectiles get dragged along with the player. So it's this composite of behaviors that we're seeing here. You can really see the explosion chains when they're chasing like that. These things are bombing at the moment. It's every second, each projectile emits an explosion after 3 seconds of lifetime. That's what this little placeholder mouse is. Wait 3 seconds, then start. Core logic in the weapon creation is you start with the weapon itself. It has a bundle of behaviors with it. In the case of the yarn ball, it's set up to currently rotate out to a particular radius and kind of create a shell. And then it bounces on impact. I think just once, but I haven't checked recently. That is not the final state, but the yarn ball is meant to target a random enemy and bounce. So we take that behavior and then we start moving to the right down here and we add these other behaviors. So we have a track a random enemy. So when the yarn ball emits and starts rotating, it also picks one of the enemies that exists in the world and says, I'm going to move towards that. Hey there, yeah. Then we have 4 split into 3s. So it's going to get to here. The enemies are nanoblobs. Those are not going to be the initial enemy. Those are a special thing that'll happen later. They are lore connected. If you've seen some of the old Noida streams, you know that the term nanoblob has a lot of weight to it. So we get here, we split into 3 yarn balls, identical yarn balls. Because this 3 is expended in the process of creating those 3, they won't do this one, but they will do the next 3. So those 3 split into 3. So now we've got 9 of them, and each of those split into 3. So now we got 27, and each of those split into 3. So now we've got 81 of them. Hooray for math. Now there's overlap because each of them is splitting in a 90-degree spread, so you'll get some kind of stacking on top of each other. Welcome back, dear. Ha! A rare deer. We'll put it that way so that it doesn't sound awkward. Then we wait 3 seconds, and then this one begins, which says, emit the next weapon every second. We can make that next weapon behave a little bit differently. If I put this motion in here, the explosion it's not how I want it to be. I need to write this down. I do need a I do need to change what an explosion is, and I want to make a special entity type for explosions, because they don't really live. Most other entities have, they exist until you get rid of them. An explosion doesn't really have an existence time. It has a visual effect and a radius. It's not even really an explosion. It's an effect that takes a snapshot of everything in it and sends events to them. But I don't want to do what I'm doing right now, which is a total hack. explosions live for about 1 second, or I'm sorry, like a single frame. But I had to add logic to the lifespan thing that says persist after death. So it stops interacting with other objects and it changes its type so it doesn't. But it is considered otherwise a dead object and going to be removed. That is messy, and I don't like it. So if we add this spiral here, the explosions that are going to start resulting will be a little messier. They won't quite appear in the same pattern. No, I haven't done any Roblox scripting. Roblox isn't really my thing. For one, it's well after my time. So one of the things that we've got, it's kind of behind the HUD a little bit, up near my right ear. This 1,000 number is how many things exist right now. So between the blobs, the yarn balls, and the explosions, there's about 1,350 objects. There is a crash that can happen if we wait too long here. Haven't fixed that yet. The upper number, that 90-some number, is our frames per second. So we're anywhere between a little under 60 on up to, 90 plus right now. If I reduce the number of things down to something a little bit more manageable, we're going to see our frames per second skyrocket. We're at, as far as number of physics frames happening, we're at almost 2,500 on the regular. Which is fantastic. The reason that we want it to be that high right now is not because we want it to run at that speed. We're going to put a frame limiter on it. But because we don't want it to fall below that speed. We have since added logic for health, actually ending the game. We have our health bar up here, our interim health bar. And when all of the health objects are removed, the player is gone. Now, I have a continue button. That is handling currently for if there is like a revive and keep going kind of mechanic. Like Vampire Survivors does it with the tiramisu and similar. Hey there, Ayan. Welcome, welcome. Beverage here. My kitties are evading the camera. 1 second. We gotta look for some kitties. Yeah, Rare Deer, I have done various videos. Oh wow, that camera's real dark. Might have to change the lighting situation, but I do like the reduced glare that I'm getting right now. That is shelf camera. That's not too surprising. I suspect if one of them sits on shelf camera, we'll get a different result here. Okay, we have that sherbet sitting there. So Sky's up in the cat tree. Yeah, that's sherbet there on the little air hockey table. Which implies to me that Molly is lurking around. Sherbet's generally not out to play unless Molly is doing something. So we go back, we can start again. And looping back around. So this is something I also want to check on is, why is it taking so long to end here? Now, there is logic that's taking place to purge things out, but it shouldn't have taken that long. This implies to me that there might be some lingering processes going on that should not be. So I'm curious now. This is what I meant with programming works differently than a lot of people think. If this were a true idealized, completely idealized professional environment, and I mean professional in the terms of like consummate craftsman kind of thing, we would have designs in place. We would have documentation on what things are supposed to do, and we would be following that. I have started a planning board to try to keep track of what I'm thinking of, but for the most part, we're doing a seat of the pants operation. But I will find things and veer off to try to fix them. So we start this a little bit. Again, we're going to make a whole bunch of objects. We are going to spam the screen with stuff, and then we are going to end the game. Zoom! They're moving very fast because I have a double spiral in place. Spirals do complicated math. It's not like super complicated, but there's a lot of like rotational calculation going on. When they're rotating, they rotate at a steady speed. Well, there is a proportional set of variables. There is the rotation speed of it. There is the radius of it. And then I think what was the other part? Oh, there's another part that I now forget. So one of the elements that you're seeing, the slower ones are actually slower because they are at a different angle as they come out. So the spread arcs them outward. In this case, you have 45 degrees left, right, and then a center. That change in rotation of the initial exit point skews how the rotation that happens subsequently. Because if it's angled outward hard, it has a harder time turning back inward and maintaining its actual speed. Okay, we've run for a bit. We're going to escape. We're going to end. And then we're going to pause here. We have no running tasks. So what is happening right now? Okay, then it ended. Now it's possible that just Visual Studio is having issues here, but I do need to keep an eye on that. Anywho, let's see. First thing we'll do today is we're going to clean up our parsing logic here. We don't want to read raw text files. We're going to read CSVs going forward. So only CSVs get read. So it is never going to be a text file. It is always going to be a CSV, so we don't need to check. Visual Studio Code is free, and for an individual person operation, Visual Studio is free. If you have the option to do Visual Studio, this thing right here, do this. If you don't, like, I think Visual Studio Code can work on other platforms, like Mac and that kind of thing. Fine. But Visual Studio Code personally is way harder to use and has some counterintuitive behaviors. It does work, though. This is just a more robust thing. So this is Visual Studio. Visual Studio Code you can just go and download. They both say Visual Studio, but that code suffix has a lot of weight to it, Alt. So let's see. We're going to have a lot of broken stuff as a result here. So it's never going to be a text file. So we're not going to do individual text read here. Oops, not that. That. One connects here. So we do that. Let me get rid of you and you. There we go. Okay, now we are going to pop up here. Effectively, you should always pay attention to the requirements on it. I believe I do have if I recall, I did get a license for this some time ago. I don't recall when, but I did get a license for this. But for private use, you generally don't need, like, I am a single person doing this is very different than I have a company with like 50 people doing this. Very different licensing structure. But always pay attention when you go to a site that says you can download software. Verify what your license is. Okay. So we're going to run it again, make sure I didn't break it. Loading, loading, loading. Start. Does not explode. Okay, great. Yeah, there's something about running for a while that is costing us more and more. I think it might be the shutdown logic that is purging stuff. But we'll see. That's always the goal, James. No explosions. Well, no after game explosions. No non-game related explosions. Okay, we have that in place. Let's do a quick interim commit. We're showing we have our CSV handling in place. Now I'm cleaning up the vestigial text handling. So here we're not actually reading the text files. That's why I got rid of that. We are going to move our data around. So we got our CSV data now. We are going to very carefully delete that. Move this here. Data path, and we remove that because we're defaulting it. Get rid of all of this. All of this. And now we run it and nothing will break. Loading, 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 loading. I think something broke. Oh. But why? Moved all of those. To the data folder. And we're checking the data folder now. We removed all of these comments because we don't need them. We're reading the files from the data path using the default. We weren't reading the text files before when we ran it just now. Let's give it a moment. But this should take under 4 seconds to load. So it'd be broken. But again, welcome to programming. Um, okay. Step in. We're now amidst our read file task. Step over. We now have a collection of files which contains exactly 20 things, which is correct. See all our lovely CSV files. We're going to make our catalogable data. This is going to be our combined. I have heard that, Dodds, there are folks that enjoy listening to my streams. As if it were a very unguided podcast. We make our mutex. So this is while we're dealing with our while we're writing to the individual file contents, we need to make sure that we don't break anything here. Don't know that we actually need the mutex here anymore, but it is what it is. Oh, no, we do because we're awaiting all of them. So we're going to go through each file. So we're going to do this 20 times. Run to cursor. So tasks has 20 entries. Now we're going to wait for this to complete. And apparently it's already done. Huh. Okay. So we now have individual file contents. Parsing. Yes, okay. The individual file contents is a separated collection of the contents of each of the files. Catalogable data is going to be the merged set of that. So we have all of that information. Now we're going to go into merge individual file contents, which is not really, doesn't really need to be async, but it it's going to result in that. I'm going to step out of U. So we now have merged catalog data. We have 115 things. Let us take a look at our data folder. Or if we're going to be able to get all of that. Why is that locked? We should be done with it. That's going to contribute to it taking so long to wrap up. Because we have all those file locks that we need to let go of, and other cleanup that we haven't done. Don't touch that, Molly. Anyway. So we're going to go over all of these, and add to catalog is dependent on all of the dependencies getting loaded. So what do we have? We got us a lot of stuff. The question becomes which, because we know it was not until we moved it to the data folder that we had this issue. Molly was trying to pull on a cable. Yes. I do need to work on the cable management behind the monitors. There are a lot of things that they can, like, reach up and pull on there. They are wrapped in sleeves and protected, but that doesn't mean they can't pull on the bundles, you know? I've been considering a PVC-based solution. Hello, Sammy. Hello. Okay, so that one's awaiting. Waiting. We have a whole bunch of them. Oops. I see what I broke. That one, open file. Okay, we are going to do a quick revert here. These are our data changes. So you see all these data texture bits. We are going to so the important thing is, I mean, technically the ASprite files, but also the PNGs. We need those. Sure, I've only got texture changes. Going to discard those changes. Let's hunt them down, make sure we didn't miss any. Okay, we're just gonna discard the selected changes. We're going to keep this. Hey there, Boyle. I deleted a folder prematurely, so we're undoing a commit real quickly here. Okay, so textures and maps in particular are a problem for us. Let us. We are going to go into our base catalog here, make sure it's still running. So this is going to be CSV data. Hopefully we don't have to revert back further. That breakpoint. There we go. Took a little longer, but Game runs. We are making a Bullet Heaven style game with a modular item/weapon construction pattern here. Such that so if we remove this and make it on impact, you can see this better. Pretty much. Until our computer crashes. We did have some of that in our later coding stream. So, like, this pattern, one ball arcs out, and after 3 seconds, it bursts into 81 balls. And let's have those track and bounce more. So you see, they fly out in all kinds of different directions because they are being dragged towards enemies. We are sitting at about 580 objects active in the world right now at, let's say, 900 to 1,000 frames per second. Physics frames. Then we can bring the game to its knees by doing this. Well, sort of to its knees. So now we have over 1,000 things at once. We're down to 200 because a lot is happening at once. A great deal is happening at once here. Because amongst those 1,000 things are a whole bunch of things that only exist for a little under a second. So a lot of stuff is popping in and out of existence on the Godot side. Okay. We need to remove all of the text files from our data folder and then move the CSVs in. So if we look at behaviors, groups, timers, we can get rid of that, not levels. We can get rid of these for sure. That is Sky, and I think Molly is up there with him. Zoom. Sorta. Yeah, that's Molly. She was sitting on my footrest. I can't feel her there anymore. So let's look at the array here. Ember is across from my keyboard, and up and left from my keyboard right now. Let's see, where are you looking from? You are looking from widescreen, so up and right is Sammy. Then left center on the bed is Mason and Sherbet, lower right and then top center. So we have all 6 of them visible. All 6 are visible. In general, stream time is nap time. As is true with most cats, all times are nap time. Sherbet there, though, on the bed, top center, and Molly, who is behind Sky there, do get up to a lot of mischief. They get pretty active. Okay, then we're going to check the players folder. Okay, we don't need the players folder. We don't need the spawn point folder for the spawner items folder. I have a lot of cats. There's I really try to avoid things like the the shelter aisles at stores, at pet stores, or going to an animal shelter or anything like that, because I'm an easy mark. The reason that I have Mason and Mason and Sherbet is that they were siblings. I didn't want to split them up. The reason that Molly is there for the most part is because she was part of a sibling pair, but people only adopted her brother and left her alone, and that hurt my soul. Okay, we got rid of those text files. That text file. These text files. Text there, text there. Text file. Those text files. Check the levels folder. We need the map. Let's double check. Okay, we don't need the map. The map is defined. Text files are elsewhere. Don't need spawn lists. And we don't need... Okay. There we go. Okay, so those still exist. We now take back into our data folder. We're now going to go to our CSV data folder. We're going to take all of that and we're going to move it to actual data folder. Oop. They do. My cats are pretty snuggly. Sherbet is the least snuggly. He's kind of the most skittish, but he does show up a lot more often as, over time. He is getting increasingly more interested in getting his back scratched and whatnot, even if that means he has to come within arm's reach. Ember constantly, when she is awake, wants to, like, sit on my shoulder and get pets. Sammy likes to sit on my lap. Molly is everywhere in the room, but she'll sit on my footrest. One of Sherbet's places to be nearby but out of reach is in my footrest. It's a little cat hutch. Mason likes to get hugs. He kind of walks up, climbs half onto my shoulder, stands on my lap, and just expects to be, like, very lightly and particularly held as he stares into the middle distance, unsure of if he's doing this right. Okay, we have all that. Our CSV data folder is empty now. Take that, go up to our data path, and we switch it back over to data. Yep. Okay, that's running, not breaking. Do. Split into 3, then we'll split into... So one thing I also want to do is make it so that I can have them fan out a little more organically. That's really only a problem with static spawns like the yarn balls are doing right now. If we have them emit in a random direction like this, yeah, it's The general genre, Puyo, is called bullet heaven, and it is a genre. It's not a great genre title because it depends on you knowing what a bullet hell is, so that you can make the intuitive leap. So, bullet hell is the enemies are spraying bullets, and a big part of the mechanics of the game is you dodging those bullets. A bullet heaven is often considered the opposite of that, where you are firing bullets all over. Nameless, welcome. We are using Godot 4.4, using C# as the primary coding, kind of medium. I do like Godot. The first time I poked the idea of making a game, I did try Unity. I won't try them now because I don't like the way the company behaves. But I ultimately didn't like the editor. Especially didn't like the way that you had to deal with like C# coding with Unity. They had a specialized, often older version of the mono compiler that they used, and you had to do an extra song and dance to import the libraries, which I found to be a burden. But a lot of great things are still made in Unity, so, each to their own. Okay, that was working. Check our commit real quick. A lot of times open projects or free projects have a lot of issues, either in like just general features or reliable maintenance. If it's a entirely open source project where they just sort of say, hey, the community does it, democracy often moves in the right direction with an open source project, but it can also thrash. Godot has somewhat an advantage that there is kind of a guiding hand, but it is still, community driven. Okay, we got that. Okay. In there. Thanks for joining us, Pio. We do have a schedule up if you'd like to see the later streams this week. Okay. So I do need to check and see what's going on with the files. On my YouTube page in the community posts, you can find the schedules there. Additionally, if you follow me on Blue Sky, or Twitter, because it will never be X, you can see the schedules posted there as well. Additionally, on my Discord. Hello, Sky. Hello. Sky is deciding if he wants to join me on my lap or if he wants to stand hovering over my mouse hand and being a problem. Both are equally likely with Sky. He is one of my 2 nuisance cats. Previously, he was the only nuisance cat, and then Molly has shown up to rival him. They like pulling on cables and chewing things and knocking stuff off shelves. Okie dokie. Let's find that file read. comment. We have already implemented everything. Ah. We're never releasing the file. Oopsie doopsie. We'll have to check the texture logic as well, but that's a little different. We are going to rattle the cage a little bit here. Put a wave pattern in there, make it really wonky. Let's put that on impact so you can actually see the pattern happening. So they are trying to rotate out from the player. And they are also trying to move in an S-curve while they do it. And now they will also try to home. So we can get some very pretty behavior out of that. So even though we're generating 81 yarn balls a second, we're still holding at, let's say, 400 to 700 physics frames per second. Pretty good. Let's hammer that down. So you get this ripple of explosions because there are multiple yarn balls emitting them at the same time. It's very pretty. Okay. Escape out. We're going to end. Still taking a remarkably long period to close. I'm guessing we might be dealing with the Godot close down now. That is a concern. There is a concern with that. Because we know it can crash on shape generation. That is something that we've had to deal with before. When we are using our node-based collision, node-based. So every time we incorporate an entity into the world, every time a bullet appears, a blob appears, we are generating collision logic. We are creating collision objects here. If I had to guess, the explosions are going to be the problem because of how we are changing object types. And that is logic that I feel like we need to revisit and rip out. I think the better way to approach the quandary of how explosions work with the rest of the world is to make them their own kind of thing. So that they are like an entity, but they have a very different way of interacting with the world. And that's that as soon as they pop into existence fully in the world, they do their thing and then they leave. So that we don't have this perpetual problem of how do I handle an entity that has to stick around for its visuals but needs to go away from a collision sense. If I have something where I can just put the visual in place and do the messaging once, then we should be good for that. And this is for an explosion, for a radial instantaneous collision check, not for, say, a bubble that persists in the world. Like a damaging field of effect is different than an explosion. They kind of behave a similar way, but a damaging field is going to be an object that sticks around. And kind of flicks the lights on and off, An explosion is a one-and-done collision check. Where I put that remains to be seen. But we need to address that as well. We got... okay, we got still plenty of time in the stream, so... I was thinking of doing burst fire, but that is still a open issue. So, talking through why I'm having trouble tackling burst fire is a split is easy to do the way the world works in this game. So I go in here, I put a split 3 on it. Well, we show it going normal. Yarn ball goes out, spirals out. As soon as a split happens, 3, pause, 27, and start homing when you do that. Start homing early. Always home. So when a split happens, it's at that exact instant. Emit that many objects. And it still looks kind of natural because they all pop into existence at once. It's your Contra shotgun spread kind of stuff. It's okay that all the projectiles exist at the same moment and fan out from there. But when you're dealing with burst fire, your kind of 1, 2, 3 kind of effects, it doesn't look quite right if they spring into existence from a point all the time. So if I'm emitting them from the player, you would expect that each subsequent projectile emit from the player, and keep track of that. If I'm emitting them in the air, I don't want them to emit from the bullet that is the thing that is now going to burst into 3. Because if I do that, then they just overlap. They have the same path. In theory. Additionally, it's fiddly. It's fiddly is ultimately the problem. It's one that I think I'm going to have to map out. So let's think how we would do that. As I mentioned before, if we were doing this in a more organized fashion, we would have things like a series of at least spec sheets that we kept track of to say, this is how we want something to work. We could always adjust that over time, but we have this idea of this is how this is supposed to work. And we would have many, many of those. And we would consult them and update them periodically. We're not doing that. We're doing most of this by the seat of the pants. and a great deal of how things are supposed to work and what different things do lives in my noggin. So a great deal of the flow of our coding is whim of the moment, you know? Well, let's try this. It's not our data folder. We're going to need to make sure that the solution view properly handles missing folders. We're going to look at screens, game screen, entities, multipliers. So, for example, multiplier is anything that results in the spawning of something else as far as the behavior chain goes. So if I run into something, create another thing. If X seconds have passed, or fractions of a second, create another thing. After, like, when emitted, fan out into an arc. So, you know, we do a calculation to say, okay, how big is the arc? And how many go to the left and right? The original projectile persists, but we create copies of it to the left and right of it. There is a wrinkle as far as odd numbers. Do I have that handling in here? The counts do go negative, if that makes sense. Because we're going to come up with a way to fan it out, and we use the count as a multiplier. But all of these spring into existence at once. So we get a message in, we say, have we spawned yet? You know, have we done a thing? This fires exactly once. So whenever this gets a message, we are always going to say initialize up front. That does all the... There is some extra footwork in here that has to happen. We do our set values. That is determining how many things, which angle, all of that. We do that once we are in existence. We can't do it during the constructor because JSON loading needs to be able to happen. So we do that once during message handling. There might be a message. I think we may have created a message that would let us do this handling without having to be checking a variable. I think there's a prepare call. I don't remember where I put it. So we go through the left count and we go through the right count. Hey, Harry. Things are going well. We are taking a look at a functional behavior that way back we had a pattern for, because the idea of splitting the projectiles and similar was worked entirely differently. So we're having to approach that issue now. I think the best way to go about this at the moment is to implement it in the simple way that I am concerned won't look right, and take a look at it and see if it looks right. So we're going to add a new one. It needs to extend behavior. So this is going to be a multiplier first. I don't know why it complains about that, but, you know, here we are. Exactly, Harry. That is one of the things that I find fun about this, is figuring out how to solve the issue. You know, what do I do to make this work? You extend behavior. We're going to do public partial. Nowhere in my code base do I actually use the logic that makes partial relevant. I don't have any files where I feel that that is necessary yet. But partial lets you take, like, this same class and break it up into multiple pieces without making multiple different classes out of it. They're all still the same thing, but I can organize the patterns a little bit. I don't need to do this right now. Like, technically an unsigned int. You can't have negative of these. We're going to default it to 1. We need a set needs to be a property so that JSON sees it. Now, I should probably start using decimal in my handling instead of float, but for now, double is sufficient. No worries, Harry. Earlier in the stream, we said this, and I probably will say it multiple times in some streams. This is a mutual learning experience. I discover things as I go along, and I learn more about the tools that I am using. I have programmed substantially in my life, but one thing to know about programming is you're always learning. You're always learning new ways to do things, realizing you've been doing something wrong all your life, or finding out, hey, there's a fantastic way to do this that I didn't know about. There's a new pattern that people have come up with. There's a new programming language out there. There's a toolkit that I want to try using. You know, Godot is an interesting development kit. Maybe someday in the future I'll take a look at Game Maker or stuff like that. We're just defaulting these in for now. You can do a close all other ones, but I'm being lazy. Don't have these yet. Protected. Okay. So we have how many things are going to be in the burst, how many seconds we wait. This is probably going to be fractions of a second. How long it's been since the last time we activated. Add. I don't technically need to do this. By default, if you don't explicitly tell it to, the JSON parser will not touch anything that's not a property. which is what defining them with this get set does. But there's nothing that stops me from later changing the JSON in such a way that I set that flag, and that would result in potentially these things being touched, and I don't want them to be. Click, multiplier burst. Nice. Let's check our spread. We do nothing in the base one, which is the JSON constructor. I do JSON parsing of the objects, not because the whole data structure is technically in JSON. The data structure is all in CSV. Used to be in text containing only JSON, but I take this data and I make JSON text out of it. And I do that because it lets me skip a lot of fiddly logic as far as creating the right object. There is a lot of song and dance that goes on in the background. We have multiplier burst. We are going to take a... Okay. So once again, I harp on this a lot. You get a lot of people, especially people selling AI solutions, that talk about how, you know, by the end of this year, and this year is always the year they're talking about, or the next year or something, AI is going to replace programmers. This thing happening right here, not this one in particular, this one's a decent assumption, but this happening right here is generally why that's not true. It is guessing, the system is currently guessing. This isn't like a full large language model kind of scenario. This is text completion, and a lot of those tools are ultimately text completion systems. It is a system for predicting what the next word should be given the current context. I don't do this anywhere in my code. I don't do this at all. It's based on other code databases out there. This is going to be a common pattern, but I don't do this anywhere. This is not a good suggestion for my code base. And this is the least egregious version of this kind of mistake that I've seen. This is a reasonable mistake. I have seen it suggest code that not only does not appear in my code base, it is also antithetical to my design pattern, and it wouldn't compile. If you need to constantly babysit the results of your tool, it is at best an assistant, potentially an incompetent assistant, but ideally an assistant that helps you, not one that can replace you. Because you still have to be there to babysit it and make sure that it doesn't screw up. We are going to close that off with that. We are going to say base. We're going to get this in place. It's going to complain about this because I already have one of the same name. We're doing that because we need our toCopy pattern here. This is the pattern that if the system was based off of my code base and trained off of my code bases and only my code bases, that it would know to suggest. Would know that it would suggest based on probability. Because I do this pattern everywhere. This is one of the core structures in my system. toCopy does not equal null, then we are going to say, we are going, like right here, we are asserting what it is. We could do and toCopy is multiplier burst. This is technically better. But like this is cleaner, but what I'm saying is I want it to break if you do this wrong. May I ask, are you saying code would say, nope, that ain't right? If I were using an AI code generation model and it were writing code into my code base to act as essentially a second team member, somebody who is helping me write code by writing their own changes, then I would want it to be able to look at that and say, this is incorrect, or to not suggest things that don't fit the pattern, to not write code that is inconsistent. I would prefer that it's not make a suggestion if it is completely out of right, completely wrong for the code base. A big part of why it does that is, again, it's text completion. Probability based on all of the code bases that it's scraped and the context of this file says this is a very likely thing. Creating a constructor that has parameters for each of the variables makes sense. That is a common thing that you would do. But there are a couple of things that tell you you shouldn't. This count and interval are public properties. It's not uncommon for you to set those in a constructor. These are internal variables. They're protected values, and additionally, because I'm old, I am using underscore syntax. And one of the things that underscore syntax means, this little predicated underscore there, is this is an internal only variable. Even if you can touch it, even if I had access to it from outside, don't touch it. This is for multiplier burst purposes only. So to mess with it during the constructor is not necessarily the right thing to be doing. But it doesn't know that. It doesn't know anything, but its database of stuff that it has encountered before in order to generate its probabilities hasn't encountered that. There's no actual thinking involved. There is no knowledge involved. There is no understanding of my code base. When you ask ChatGPT to write a paper for you, it doesn't know anything about the topic or how to write a paper. It just knows this is the shape and most likely configuration for something fitting the description of what you have given it. But another way, computers do what you tell them to. If you let it run on assumptions of what you wanted, good luck. Doing what you tell it to is already a vague prospect. First. So right here, this was a good helper. This is a common pattern. Class name, make a lowercase version of that class name. New it as that object, but I don't want to new it, but this naming convention is viable. So what we're going to do instead is and the only reason it accepted that and entered that text is because I accidentally accepted the suggestion. That. So we are going to cast toCopy into a multiplier burst object. We can attempt this because we are getting a catalogable. Everything is a catalogable. Everything, but all of my data objects are catalogable. It's a multiplier burst is a behavior. A behavior is a catalogable. So I know it's a catalogable. Right here, it's because I'm calling my copy constructor, my clone constructor here. I can make an assumption that it is the same thing that I'm receiving. My code flow would generally not allow you to get a multiplier burst being copied from a multiplier spread. That just wouldn't happen. And the reason that I'm not doing a safety check before this is that if that bad circumstance happens, I don't want it to actually work. I don't want to silently I don't want a silent failure. I don't want it to kind of sweep it under the rug. I want it to violently scream that something's not right. Okay, so count is equal to that. Interval is equal to that. Okay. So this is one of those where I'm having to loop back around to what I said, is I want them to behave the same. If I copy a burst, then it should copy that everything about that burst within reason. So if I've already started doing a burst fire, I don't want the subsequent creations to carry on bursting. So let's say the first new bullet of the burst in a 3-shot burst. I have the current one. I want it to go 1, 2, 3. The currently existing bullet is 1. The subsequent bullet, the new one, I don't want it to have another bullet left, because if it does, it will also fire the third one. So the first bullet will say fire bullet 2, fire bullet 3. The second bullet will also say fire bullet 3. That's not right. It's a 3-shot burst. I should have 3 at the end. I should not have 4. Because those are different numbers. Checking real quick. We are past our first break marker. We are going to take the break now. If you like what you've been seeing, remember you can like, follow, subscribe, that kind of stuff. It helps the channel grow. With that said, though, I will be right back. And we're back. And hey, Philo. Welcome back. Okay, so I said that we should JSON ignore these because they're fully private and protected values, but we are going to do this a little differently. Okay. We are saying that these are exposed values. We're still going to ignore them in the JSON. We're still going to protect them. I don't want them to be underscore because what that says is nobody touch this. Nobody outside of this instance touch this. Even if you can, don't. We can get away with this because these are the same things. This one. Put them in this order. Let me see how many you can see right now. Sky is on my lap, so you won't be able to see him. Okay, so you are looking via the widescreen format. In the little cat basket in the upper left, Molly has left that camera. She's probably going to enter the top center camera. There she goes. She has just jumped over Ember. Over on the bed, on the blankets and the squishmallow, there is Sammy in the lower left and Sherbet in the top center. Sky is on my lap, and Mason is currently not visible anywhere. He just walked through the play area. That's Mason. There are 6 in total. Okay. Time since last is actually internal. Oops. That is an internal value. We shouldn't copy that. This is the one we duplicate. We're duplicating it because when we copy it from a template, it should be the same. But when we actually handle a message and we create a copy, we are not going to keep this the same. We are going to set this to false. I'm sorry, true on any copy we make. A burst should not happen on a copy. Hey there, AJ. Oh, it's been a bit. I think it has. Has it? My memory escapes me. Well, thanks for joining us, Harry. I hope you have a good rest of your day. Okay, so now we need a handle message. Public override. Handle message. Are we doing the base and handle message? We aren't. Okay, good. False. Multipliers generally don't eat the message. To be fair, I primarily recall that you are prone to using graphics in your screen tags, in your handles. That struck me as familiar. All right, let's see. We don't need to initialize on this. There's nothing fiddly about it. So we're looking for... if not done, and we're in a time past message. So we're not going to do one immediately. We wait for the things and words. We're going to wait for a full interval before we spawn again, because again, the first bullet is the first one in the burst. Just like when you do a spread, the original bullet is the center one. Since last plus equals and past message past message is equal to message cast into a time past message. So here, because it sees that I did this, it is then making the assumption that I might want to do that here. It is suggesting that because now it has, in this context, another example of something I have done before. Okay, so we're getting the time past message. We're going to say time since last plus equals time past message dot delta. Time past message contains the amount of time in game sense that has passed since the last time we received a message like this. Kind of. Technically, something might intercept a time past message to this one, and so it wouldn't get that last delta. It would only get the newest delta. Okay, so that much time has passed. If last is greater than or equal to interval, do a thing. More expected new int emitted emitted is equal to 0. This one also does not get copied. And that is only because of the way burst behaves. Technically, it's also the same way that spread behaves, but there's a wrinkle here. So we don't want any time to have passed here. So when we are cloned, when we first come into, what we need is when we first come into existence, we want to save a value, and that is where we were at the time that this started. Because things are a little different here. We don't want the first delta to have enough time having passed that the first thing that we ever see is words and things. A situation where we will emit the bullet. We need to know what the first time we ever got invoked is. Do we have that message? Thought there was one for that. Inventory, base inventory. Copy. Weapon initialize message. What kind of messages do we have? End step. Yes. Okay. This is what we need. We need a weapon initialize message. This is... No. That doesn't work. Okay. Weapon initialize message is primarily for when we are emitting the next projectile. So if I want to have on impact do an explosion, I need an explosion in the next row. And the weapon initialize message will go through and create that. But we need upon the entity coming into existence where it is. So we might just need to bite the bullet on this. Ooh. See what I'm doing in just a moment once I've got the little bits in place. Okay, so regardless of what message we get, whether it's time has passed or otherwise, we need to say what is the first position that we're going to use. We always need to say that the first one is there. Okay, so if not initialized. So this is our starting case, else. Okay. So the first time we get a time passed message, we are just going to swallow it. As far as its function, we're not going to handle it as if time is passing. This is going to be before any of that. We need a 0 step. So the first time time passes, we're treating that as when we came into existence. So our spawn point is equal to entity.position. Okay, we need a Godot vector too. You get ready. Keep the usings that we actually need. Okay, there we go. So we've got its position. This is where we're going to emit all of our copies. This should work. Okay. But it's not done. It's started. Well, done is still useful. Done is don't do anything. We are fully complete. So we've only started once we begin emitting projectiles. So if we are so this is when we come into existence. At this moment, we're going to say if started else. Okay, so if we've started, we are going to set done equal true. Sure, just a moment. Fire that up. Loading. Start. There we go. And let's make it frenetic here. And after 3 seconds, do that. There we go. We're still operating at over 60 frames per second. We got 1,000 things on the active. So we are in good shape as far as that is concerned. Shutting down. There we go. Okay. We're not done yet, AJ. We're still a ways from that, and we're still a ways from what I would consider like Steam early access state. Not eternally far away, but we've got a lot of the shell in there, but we don't have what I would call actual gameplay yet. There is gameplay. There is the silhouette of gameplay. Okay, so we're not yet done, and we get a time passed message. If we're done, we don't care if we get a time passed message. If we are not yet initialized, we're going to see if we're set to already have been started. So when we are cloned, when we are initially cloned, started is going to be false. Yes, there is a story behind the game, AJ. The lore of my lore is very heavily tied with the game. The initial story of the game, the kind of what you're seeing now, is the rollout of the Catbot by Catbot Corporation. The Catbot Corporation product that precedes the Nanotype, what I am. That is the theme that you'll be seeing initially. Again, if you were around for the Noida mod era, and some of the kind of lore concepts that were discussed during that, you have an idea of the kind of things that will happen after. If you look at my debut stream, a bit of the debut stream and also the short videos that arrived before that, you can get an idea of what else might happen. Shameless plug, watch my old streams and see my pre-debut and debut stuff. So this is, if we haven't initialized and we are already started, then we are going to say never really start. Skip this one entirely. Otherwise, we say this is where we begin. So we get in, we set our started flag. So as soon as this thing gets a time passed message, almost immediately after coming into existence, it is going to set its spawn position, and then after that, it's going to start. We could actually set started here. Effectively, when it comes to burst fire, there can be only one. Okay, so now we're going to create our duplicate. So we're going to create a copy of our entity. Normally we would rotate it and that kind of stuff, but we're just going to make a copy and we're going to add it to the manager. Services, catalog, copy. Entity. As an entity. Services dot entity manager dot add entity copy. All right. This should create the concept of a multiplier burst. Alex, this is a bullet heaven game. Shares DNA with things like Vampire Survivors, Bioprototype, that kind of stuff. Where the general gimmick is you are at the center of the screen and swarms of monsters attack you, and you spray bullets everywhere. The gimmick, though, is that you customize the weapons like things like Magicraft and Bioprototype. Sure, AJ. I can get that in the Discord or similar. If you pop in there and ask, I can link the various bits to you. There is also a thread in the Discord that includes the Twitter posts and the like that went with it. So we emit 3, we wait 3, and then it will burst into a whole bunch, and those spread everywhere, and they emit lots of explosions. Many explosion. And we can change that on the fly so that now the new ones only explode once they have hit something and don't bounce or pierce. So now they're not exploding, but if they live long enough to hit 2 different blobs, generally, they will explode. So you can see a couple over there blowing up. So we have that sort of weapon construction. Is it going to be on the fly, in real time? Probably not. Okay, so now we have a type called a multiplier burst. So we're going to... No worries, AJ. We have created the shell of what will be burst fire. I have concerns about how it operates, but we're going to roll with this for now. So now we're going to go into our data files. We're going to go into multipliers. So we're going to say multiplier burst 0.3. So this is a multiplier burst. Yeah, Alex, one second. As I had mentioned, tradition is when we have a new person that comments on the look of the avatar. You know, I need to just make a button for that. So I can get this out of the way. There we go. So this text here actually is automatically generated. Not in the spreadsheet, but in the logic. This word here is derived from this name, the name of this class. This is a live 2D model, Alex. It is a 2D model that is set up and animated in a way such that it has a real 3D motion look. Smoke and mirrors. Okay, so we have a burst and we need to set count and interval. So count is 3 and interval is 0.3. Those are the defaults. I don't actually need to set them, but for our purposes, we're gonna. Okay, so now I have that in existence. I need a corresponding item. Yeah, it's kind of like parallaxing a background. To give you an idea, a live 2D model like this one, for those that are interested, there are a lot of different parts. Just the hair, just the eyes, the interior of the body, all of those are actually made of multiple different parts. You really have to respect both the artist that works on them and makes all of the pieces, as well as what's called the rigger, the person that takes those pieces, makes it look like the original art, but also makes it move around like this. It is a skill. Okay, now we need a corresponding item. Still in data. We need an item to go with it. This is an inventory item behavior. Its behavior is also hello, Tass. Hello. 3, its icon is going to be. We're going to take a 3 spread. Its tooltip is going to be, let's see, 3 burst. Burst. It doesn't have a spawner because it's not a weapon. Okay, we now have item 3 burst. Close that. And you. Now we need our loadout, which will be our, I believe, our player object. Yeah. And we are going to go in here and we're going to take reburst like so. Okay, let's see what I forgot. Yep, Yeah, live 2D can get crazy. Okay, it didn't explode. Pause. 3 burst. Okay. That there. 1, 2, 3. It's not doing anything. Tab. 3 burst. I do not have a demo yet. The state that you're seeing is the state that it's in. We are well before alpha. And this is the first game we've set out to make. Okay, so we have a 3 burst in place. We're about to fire it, so we should get in here. Initialized is going to be false. We're going to step in. Started is false. Oh, stop. I'll move these up at the top. Just so. Okay, so we set initialized here. That it was never getting out of the actual functional, the actual startup code. Set in, do a 3 burst. Still not functioning. Okay, so first time we're not initialized. We go in, we say we've started. Oh. Okay, no, it's better that that happened at the bottom. Because if I put started is equal to true, then that is always true. Oops. Oops, oops, oops. Start, 3 burst, go. Okay, it's going too quick. Oh, I know why. So, if time since last is incremented here, then as soon as one burst is going to happen, they all happen. So we need time since last minus equals interval. Still something seems off, but we'll get to that in a moment. Now they're still all stacked up. Still all stacked up. That's not right. Since past last is 0. Time since last is greater than interval, and interval is 0.3. Delta. No, that's not how it's supposed to look. That is. So in the background. Haha. In the background is in multiple parts. So the red area that you can see is the defined area. That is the crafted map. So I might set up a very particular look of how the base map is. The blue area is the infinitely scrolling part. So once you're past the blue area just keeps going into infinity. The blue area completely surrounds the red area. So eventually it will look like, a place. But currently it do not. Okay, we're going to run until we get in here. Okay, time since last is 0.3. Interval is 0.3. So we add the entity. If we duplicate it, when we get a done... Oh, okay. No, we're duplicating started. And we're duplicating done. These are emitting way faster than they should. I prefer C# than GD script, Alex. I like the structure that exists in it, and C#, for the most part, for a majority of things, can run faster. I still use the Godot editor side when I'm setting up fixed node layouts, like buttons on the screen kind of stuff. But a lot of the screen layout is generated, a lot of the things that you see are actually generated in the code here. Like I dynamically create the objects and put them there. Why are we constantly getting this? Oh, okay. Let's also get some more of this in. Emitted plus equals 1. If emitted is greater than or equal to count, 0, we get to 1. We need that. So it's count -1 because the original bullet is the first one. So if I say it's a 3-shot burst, it's going to add 2 bullets. Load. Start. Add a 3 burst. They're still stacked right up. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Because the interval of update is generally about... It's under 0.02 seconds. Start here. Put a burst in there. So this is the initial one. We have not started. So we're going to go in and we're going to set our spawn point, which is the entity position. Oh. Copying started. So what's happening here is that this is being triggered multiple times. So every time a spawn happens, it's setting that the spawn position should be entity position. Like the current position of the entity, which isn't right. So first we're going to do this and see what changes. We're going to update the position and say put it at spawn point each time. No worries there, Alex. As I've said a lot of times previously, and don't worry about me saying it multiple times, this is a mutual learning experience. It's great if everybody comes away from this knowing a little more. Godot is pretty good if you're cognizant of it. It is not... You're not going to get hyper optimization necessarily. Let's say you are infinitely good at coding. Like, you know every trick in the book. Tools like Unreal have a greater depth of stuff for you to play with. And I'm assuming you're not making your own engine because you don't need it and you're not insane. Unreal has more tools, but the ground of it, like the first part, like what it takes to get rolling is a little meatier, and you may not need all of the stuff that Unreal is capable of. For example, Game Maker is a tool. Like, you know, it's like Godot, it's like that. RPG Maker is that kind of thing. Those are often viewed as very simple platforms. They are very suited towards particular types of games. But you can make other games in them regardless. It's that their toolkit is easier to use for some things than other things. Unreal, you've got a lot of tools, but you're expected to do more to make all of those detailed things work. So if you want to get, like, if you're looking at performance, if you do it badly, your performance will tank. Right now, the game is paused. We're getting about, let's say, 2,500 frames a second. I'm going to put... We've got our burst 3 here. I want to see what it does real quick. Excellent. Okay. You. Not what we wanted to do yet, but okay, we're going to make a whole bunch of objects on screen here. So in the game world right now, we are hitting about 1,000 things. Climbing, 1,600 things. Our frames per second are dropping, but we're still getting upwards of 30. Physics frames, graphics frames are different. That's pretty good. Are there further optimizations I can make? Yes, and we've tried all kinds of stuff. For example, the background is rendered largely on the GPU, as in it's a shader. We have tried all kinds of stuff for performance, and it's a balancing act between what you want to do and what you're capable of doing, what you're doing, how'd you make it work, and is it doing what you want? So initially, when I first started doing this, I did it entirely in GD script. I tried some stuff. The game would have been, we would be in sub 1 frame per second if I had this many things on the screen before. The most I've ever managed to get was over 10,000, but that required sorcery. It was fragile and tricky, and it wouldn't have let us do everything that we want to do with it. And start shutting down. There's definitely some sort of leak going on here. Yeah, process memory, we can see it's climbing over time, and it's taking us longer and longer to shut down the more that's happening. So we will have to hunt that. Okay, so we're mostly getting that. How do we want to handle that? Because what we want is that the duplicates are the ones that are going to spawn out. We could eat the message until we're done. So if I did something like bool eat message is equal to false. So this won't work right, but we don't even need eat message. I find C# a good starting point. It's a nice language to step into first. And you can use it in a lot of different platforms. That's another marker that makes Unreal tricky, is you're going to be doing a lot of your coding in something like C++. And that is way in the deep end if you're just getting started. This shouldn't work correctly, I think. Oh, it's actually working. Okay, okay. Not quite right. We're getting there. We're getting there. Okay. So the difficulty is, so we've come around and we said, I haven't started yet. I haven't been initialized yet. So now we go in and say, I haven't started. So the first one comes in and says, this is my spawn point. And we say we're initialized and we've started as of now. Hey, Drew. If we've... But if I'm a clone, no, it wouldn't matter there. So we've come in, we copy it, we say that it is... By the time a copy happens, this will have happened. So now we're started. So when I copy it, started is going to be copied. we get in here, we can do better than this. We're just going to care about initialize. We're going to get rid of the concept of started. So if we're not initialized, we're just going to set the spawn point and set initialize true. So if our local done, but our copy got done, oh, no, that won't. Forgot. My biggest suggestion for getting rolling is tutorials. No matter what platform you're working in, there will be you will find more tutorials than you could ever watch. That is the best way to get rolling. There is you have the entire knowledge base of developers before you for any platform in any language that you want to use available to you very easily. Just on like YouTube, let alone other places. Like if you're starting with Godot, there are a lot of good tutorials in their online documentation. Okay. We need started. Because when I clone it, I need to make sure that I'm cloning started. That gives me something to work with. So we should only ever need spawn point for the original one. So if I have a count of 3, the first time it triggers, I'm going to have a count of 1. The next time it triggers, I have a count of 2. As soon as they've triggered, then we're ready. But it's okay if the first one fires. That should be okay. Each one should immediately proceed into the rest of it. So I have a burst and I have a spread. But I'm only getting the subsequent 2. Let's do a spread into a burst. Spread into burst works. Burst into spread doesn't. We can see at about 2200 objects we're at single digits as far as our frames per second. And let's just throw you in there. But we're still maintaining frames per second on up into 4,000. Like we're above minimum, though we're really close. Back in the days of the Noida mod, we used to joke about something called seconds per frame. I think the heaviest that the most burden we put on that game got us to upwards of 5 minutes per frame. We did terrible, terrible things to that game. And that also included some optimization to try to mitigate some of that. Okay. Yeah, we can see the process memory is climbing over time. Oh, you wouldn't. I was demonstrating there, Alex, what I call a calamity case. That is where something has happened that is so far outside the bounds of normal gameplay that it strains the system. It will be possible to create a calamity case like that. The player wouldn't need to escape that. If the player is doing that, they're effectively invincible. Monsters can't get anywhere near you. It's if you're doing that, you win. And it's okay that can happen. It shouldn't be common, but you want it to be able to happen because the game is ultimately a power fantasy. You know, how big of an explosion can I make? How many projectiles can I flood the screen with? It's cool when you get powerful, but you want it to feel rarer so that it has a achievement factor to it. Like, you accomplished something because your combo was good. You made a good thing. Okay, so why, if the burst is firing first, we kind of need to eat the message until we're done. But oh. So once they have been, as soon as the projectile has been emitted, it's okay for it to fire. So we don't eat the message. But the difficulty is that the subsequent event happens instantaneously for a given projectile. So as soon as the first one exists, the burst has occurred. Will consume message. False. So only for the very first frame. No, that's also not quite right, because then the third one wouldn't work. Ember has come to join me, as I think. So what's happening is that the first one comes into existence. It begins burst fire logic. That's okay, Alex. If you end up having a question about something you see, as far as, like, you're wondering what a particular passage means, feel free to ask. It's part of why I try to talk about what I'm doing. Hello, Paper. Can we expect to see your friends Rock and Scissors joining today? Ha 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 ha. So our difficulty is the way that spawning works. The way that it's working right now is that I will create a clone of the... So I'm creating a clone of the object as it exists. But from a more practical perspective, Paper, welcome to the broadcast. Jokes aside, does your handle mean something in particular? Was there a reason behind the choice of Paper with a profile picture of what I presume to be looks like a line-ruled sheet of paper? But my eyes are not great at that distance and at that size. So what if instead we create a clone at the start? Yes. Yes. Oops. Ember. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Ember demands attention. Okay, so we're not consuming message. What we're going to do instead is we say, again, this is going to be a true private one. Entity. Copy. Null by default. So all the way up here, it is a critical piece. We never duplicate it. It's only if we get to here. Copy is equal to services catalog copy entity as an entity. Thanks for joining, Alex. Thanks for joining. Okay. What we're doing here is we're creating a snapshot of the entity. And we don't actually need this anymore. Because we're not going to do that. We're going to copy to copy. So all of the logic of like where it is should be duplicated, as well as its current state, which is its state at the time that we emit it. Welcome back, Ember. Welcome back. Okay, so we put our 3 burst here. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So there's overlap because... Oh, no, we have an infinite loop going. We have an infinite loop. That's because we're copying We're taking the initial state at that time. Okay. So when we're doing a 2 copy here, this needs to be set. There. Started needs to be set before we make the duplicate. If we don't, every subsequent projectile now is going to make its copies and begin emitting them. Infinite recursion, go. Kinda. Just exponential increase, more like. Add burst. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Burst and then spread. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So this is the part that I'm not thrilled with, is that it emits from where it was at the time. I would like to have something that preserves where it emitted at so that it can behave like its siblings. So, like, if at that moment it was emitted from its parent, it's weird. So I would like the burst to follow the player. Like, its point of origin to follow the player if it initially emitted from the player. But if the burst happens after, say, like 3 seconds, so we spread, and then you'll see like a 1, 2, 3. They become 3. Those are emitting from their point. That's fine. Like that looks kind of right. But it doesn't look as good. Here, let's get it at the start. There. So we're bursting after we do our split. So they become 3 further out. That looks kind of natural to me. But if I burst before the spread, which causes it to go out of control, and I start moving, we can see that it's happening, those bursts of 3 are happening where I was standing. I don't know if I 100% like that. But I'm kind of sitting around good enough for now territory. Actually, let's escape out. We start. We're going to say do oops. Burst, wait 3, spread. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, explode out. I kind of like that. Like, that looks right. Next thing I want to do, I need to have logic as well for weapons that indicates it is still firing. So in the case of a burst, the weapon is firing for the duration of the burst. I could handle that with a new message that passes in and says, what state should we be in? Or have like an override or something like that. But I'd have to figure out where to do that. Because we could go through and we could iterate on a message where it asks, are you done? Are you done? Done firing kind of thing. And generally multipliers are going to be the ones that call out whether you are you are in the process of firing. So we could have a pause weapon kind of logic in place, where as soon as a burst starts, it will raise a pause weapon. Set it to true. We could have like a mutex kind of system too. But it says pause the weapon. When it's done, it says unpause the weapon. That way, it's not like right now it's 3 shots per second. Well, if it were, say, 5, we'll show this so it gets fully out of control. 10 is, I'm sorry, not interval. Interval is how long we wait between shots. Count is what we want to mess with. If we put count at 6, half of these shots are going to overlap with the next firing rate. So we're going to put a 3 burst in here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. See how we've got a double overlap happening here? Also, the more things that are counting, the weirder it gets. So 3 a second, and we're going to have 18 of them. This is where the burst starts to break down. Visually starts to break down. So, walking. Again, I don't know if I hate this, because the result can look pretty cool. As far as the fact that I'm walking away from it and it's still happening. We get this neat little, like, rolling arc thing going on here. Yeah, I don't know that I dislike this. Yeah. I need to think on how we're going to do the delay here a little bit. Because we currently can't bubble up to the weapon level. As far as the entity is concerned, it's free floating. It has no idea that it's originating from a weapon. We can have some of the elements categorize themselves to know that they're part of a given weapon. And we could tell the entity, like, it's getting that message into place is the problem. That is what we'd be facing. But for now, we have So we need to figure out some of that, but we'll go from there, you know? Take its initial position. We could look at an offset based on the new entity's current movement. So like right here, we could say copy dot position plus equals entity dot proposed movement. So as of the moment the copy happens, we're adjusting its position based on how the current entity is proposing to move. This is going to create very different behavior. Still not quite. But I don't think is really aiding us anything. Add proposed movement here. Do our burst fire. Is that we want to figure out Hey Sky, welcome! And welcome Raiders. Over on the Twitch side. How's everybody doing? We're trying to get burst firing working in our game here. Like 3, burst out, like so. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, pop. So it's not quite doing what we want right now. There are a couple of riddles that we still have to solve. I think it looks okay. We can move this over here so we do triple burst. So it's 3 a second. Every 0.3 seconds we fire one. Every second we begin the process. So it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 kind of thing. Not quite, 3 time. It's more of like 3, 4 or something like that. Almost. So we're close. We're close. But still not quite. For those that aren't familiar, we're making a bullet heaven style game, kind of a la Vampire Survivors. The gimmick for it is that we're using a weapon system akin to things like Noida, Magicraft, Bioprototype, that kind of stuff. Where I have a sequence of modifiers that I put in it that will make its behavior change. Like if I want the game to slow to about like under 10 frames per second, I do this. And so the whole screen is flooded with, sprite effects. And you don't get to really see anything that's happening. Or I can do that. We can move the burst over to here. We'll do into 3. We'll remove the homing. We'll add more bouncing. So we should see the number of objects start to fall off here. Very slowly, because we are no longer emitting the ones that do that. And instead, we have this neat little pattern going on. So this being the gimmick of the game is you want to create something like this so that there's so much coverage that the enemies can't really get near you. You can see the little blue blob guys trying to get on screen and they just get shredded as soon as they get within range. Even if they were to have multiple hit points, they wouldn't last very long. Currently, they're set up to just have 1. Which we could change just to see, but that's what we're working on. We do have a memory leak. I still don't know why we have a memory leak or where we have a memory leak, but we're going to have to find it. I suspect it's in our Godot generation code. But this is working. One of the next things we need to do is figure out how we can cause the weapon to know it's firing versus just having the burst be it happens this fast constantly. So we can hide a bit of the problem if we do a fast burst, so 0.1. So 0.1 seconds between each burst, each bullet of the burst, and it will do 3. So you're going to get 3 yarn balls in a tight little cluster each time. They will overlap very tightly. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That looks fine. It's only when the burst goes on for long enough that you can that things get a little different. So that's burst and then spread. What if spread and then burst? Looks the same. That makes sense. It's only if we delay, if we do a 3 spread and then a burst, we have 3 and then 1, 2, 3. Versus a burst into a delay, it will be 1, 2, 3 and then split into 3 really quick. Yeah, very different behavior. We've been doing this for quite a while. One thing I will always call out is this is a mutual learning experience. Nothing about this stream requires that you know anything about coding, anything about Godot. If you have questions, ask them. That includes, hey, where do you start? What is this? Who are you? Anything like that. This is largely a chatting stream with me talking potentially arcane stuff. All right, we're about at the hour. Where are we sitting right now? I think we're right about on time here, so we're going to wrap up for the day. We've made progress. We did a thing. We have our burst firing logic in place. There is more yet we need to do. For now, I'm not going to worry about the point of origin of the burst, since we have the basic logic in play. I want to consider how we can make it so that there is a weapon is firing versus weapon is idle state. Because the time between shots should not be incrementing while the weapon is still firing. I think. That is something to consider. Maybe we can just say, I don't care, and continue. You know, if you have a burst that lasts 10 seconds and your weapon fires once a second, then you're going to have overlap. You know what? Let's look at that real quick. We're going to have... How many do we need for that? Firing 3 times a second. Let's fire 4 times a second. And we are going to fire 20. So our burst is going to go on for 5 seconds, which means it will fire 4 times in that period. The initial one and then 3 more. Oh, you get what I'm talking about, right? So we're going to burst here. 3. So it's hard to see, but there's overlap here. There's a whole lot of them piling up. If we add a little bit of random direction to them during this, we can see more of it, but the clones are still clones. We can see more of the streams kind of going wild here, though. But if I walk away, this is where things can look weird, is that each stream begins where I was standing at the time the stream began. Again, this is a weird scenario, so I don't know that I'm really worried about that. A nice little 1-second burst, or even less than that. Like, if it finishes in a fraction of a second, if it were to fire 5 times a second, so we get a 0.2, and we have a 3-shot burst, it's a little over half a second that it takes to fire all of these. We're overriding the data values here. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. This doesn't look bad, and as far as movement, like, you don't notice it as much. It's still there. I would like to have it where we get a point of origin. And that point of origin is either an entity or a location. If it has an entity, originate at the entity. So if the bullet originated at the player, it should still originate at the player. But if it wasn't initially spawned by the weapon, it should have an origination point of that location. Because it doesn't look bad if the burst happens in flight. Here, we'll add a spread here to keep coverage. But there's a 3-shot burst in the air as it's going. Those go 1, 2, 3 as they go. And it looks kind of natural when they do that. Seems okay. But when it's coming directly from the player, it doesn't look right. At least to me, it doesn't look right. So that point of origin concept, I think we got to work on. But as noted, we are going to be wrapping up here today. So we got burst fire in place. We finished cleaning up for the CSVs. Next time we code, we're probably going to be looking at that. Whether we want weapons to have a actively firing versus idle state, and idle state versus they just have a firing interval. Keeping it simple, we might just go for firing interval. Then we also need to look at point of origin of the projectiles so that I'm able to do things like this appears at a random point in the field and moves towards the nearest enemy. that if there's a burst off of that, or a spread off, like a burst off of that, that each one will originate at that same point and go from there. I think that's still what we want. So it's figuring out, can we put a point of origin on an entity and set that up properly? Enemies don't care, weapons care, like bullets care. But I guess an enemy could. We'll see. We'll see. But in any event, I hope everybody had a good time watching with us today. If you like what you saw and would like to see more, remember to like, follow, subscribe, and so on. Special thanks to Okami Sky and the Raiders today. Thank you again for visiting us, even if it was kind of at the end there. I hope you still had a good time. But with that said, I hope the rest of your day is good, and I'll see you next time.